mean, the time they had in Germany, even if they would have had to live off their savings, it would have been enough. I mean, they couldn't take the money out. I mean, they all came out with one suitcase. So that's why I don't have very much, documentation. Whereas my wife, they came out with their goods. But you see, my parents, they packed up everything, and they paid for the freight to America and put it into the duty-free section, the international section of the harbor in Hamburg. And as soon as they arrived in England, everything was confiscated, so they lost everything they had.
You mean the German government took all their goods?
Yeah, although they had already passed over the international line, they were still able to confiscate their goods, so that we lost really all the tangible goods. And money we couldn't take out anyway, so we had $10 a piece in the suitcase, so that's what it amounted to.
Well, had the laws become such then that you couldn't take any goods out, or did they just?
No, actually they had to pay this 100% tax on export of any personal property, and then they went through the customs and they paid for the freight. And the only thing is that they went in America and they didn't have money to store this in England, so they stored it in the international duty-free section, the international section of the harbor in Hamburg, and they still took it. But that's, all right. That was a big shocker to them because, first of all, you didn't have any money in America, so you had to buy everything, whether it was knives and forks or sheets, or this. What's more, but of more concern, the surgical equipment of my father used. So when he opened up office in New York, they had to borrow money. But things like that always seem tremendous calamities at the time they happen. Now, in retrospect, when you know how much more could have happened, you realize that it was only material losses.
So what about personal kinds of goods like maybe photographs or other,
Well, I brought you a couple of little things. As I said, I don't have nearly as much as my wife has, but...
No, I meant, were your parents able to bring those things out over?
I don't know where everything, the few things that I have, where they came from. They could only bring out as much as they could carry in their suitcase. How many of those pictures that I have came out, and how much was contributed from other relatives who had some, I don't know. My mother had some photographs of these early times, but then they also say that even people who could carry very little, they all tried to carry photographs. So I have pictures of my grandmother, and my father had an assistant, surgical assistant, Dr. Kaiser, who married the nurse who worked for my father, and they had a little baby, which my parents kind of took that family on, kind of as this, they had a very close tie to that family, and unfortunately, both the parents and the baby were killed in the Holocaust. So
they went to the camps?
Yeah. But I have pictures of my grandmother with that little baby now, which she almost considered like a great-grandchild of hers. And so there are a few pictures I have to show you. And I also got to England, of course, without a passport, so I had to get some identification papers, so I brought you that.
Good. How did you go about doing that, getting a passport for yourself in England?
I don't know. I got it. All right? I had to have, but it's not a passport. It's a certificate of identity. So that you had some documentation of being a legal resident of the country.
How about you during that period? Did you have a spiritual point of view, or?
From my Jewish involvement.
Jewish,
oh yes, I became Judaism really opened up to me in England, and I think that I was ever since I got to England, I became much more religiously oriented, and again, I can't tell you exactly, step by step, procedure there and process, but I know that we belong to this big liberal synagogue in Germany, which is somewhere a cross between Reform and Conservative, and which is really a rather non-participatory experience. In other words, a big auditorium and everything happens up on the beamer, the rabbi and the chazan and whatever. And although after I became bar mitzvah, I went on Shabbat. I did it because that's what we did. But in Bournemouth we had a small synagogue with a center beamer, and everybody participated, and it was a very cohesive, participatory congregation, and I find that that's really, that people don't listen to prayer, that people pray. That's it. And that really turned me on. And I really thought this was Judaism, right? Because the other thing was more like, as I say, listening to prayer. I never thought of it that way, but the terminology just came to my mind. So, yes, and then things became gradually more so. And then after we came over here, we got married. Well, not immediately, but we got married. I don't know what Sue told you, but next week it'll be 50 years that we got married.
Congratulations. So, did you feel like you had a romance with her while you were still in England?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Germany, yes.
Germany.
Yes, towards the... we were 16, and at that time, a 16-year-old adolescent was not nearly as sophisticated as a 16-year-olds are here today. But still, the biology is the same, so